All right, everybody, how are we doing today? Welcome back to another episode of the Robbie Basel Show. I said it in the last video that I'm bringing more guests back in 2024. I am not lying. I saw the DMs, I saw all of that. I am not lying. Because looking on the other side, I brought Dylan back. Yes, guys, Dylan is back because today we are doing our Premier League mid-season update because the transfer window started 3 days ago. And why not just give an update video? But first of all, Dylan, welcome back. It's been a while, man. A lot has
Yeah,
happened, that's for sure.
yeah, a lot has happened. I'm very excited to be back on. Love talking soccer, love talking ball. I'm excited to go.
So here's how this is going to work. So if you remember from August, me and Dylan made that interesting prediction video that some picks have gone very well. We actually have gotten a couple actually on the spot, on correct that is, and some other ones have. Well, you'll just have to wait and see how that goes. So here's how we're going to do this. We're going to go by through each team in order of the table. Starting off at 20th, we have Sheffield United, which I predicted correct. Dylan did not pick Sheffield. But Dylan, I'll let you start with this one because we just talked about it before we started the recording. They're the only team to take a point from Villa Park this season, yet they
Yeah.
only have 2 points on the road. It's such a weird team. Talk to us about Sheffield.
So coming into this season, I expected from Sheffield what we've seen from Sheffield whenever they're up in the Premier League. That's good defensive soccer and being able to scrape a goal or two out with set pieces and figuring stuff out on the road and at home, just being able to scrape out dusty points. I didn't think they'd stay up, but I didn't think they'd be this bad. So what really has happened is they haven't been able to get those goals from set pieces or from Cameron Archer or Ali McBurney or whoever they were relying on to score goals. And then the center back pairing has just been, it's gone from where you're trusting your defenders to be very sound and being able to make a difference in the game and try to get that nil-nil draw here and there to Austin Trusty and Salihamidzic. And it's just not good enough. And this team's going down, and there's nothing they can do about it at this point because they're already so far down in the rat race. And the team they have to beat out is Nottingham Forest or Everton, and they're just not going to be able to do that.
Yeah, you talked about set pieces. According to FootMob, they have 2 goals off set pieces this season.
Yeah, it's not
That
good
is,
enough.
it's not good enough. They have more own goals scored from own goals than set pieces, just for reference. But you
Yeah,
talked about Cameron Archer. They only have their leading goal scorer only has 3 goals. It's 2 players
yeah.
with 3. It's Cameron Archer, who I'm a big fan of still. I think he's still very solid, and Oliver McBurney, who also has 3. I mean, this team is just an absolute mess. They're last in goals per match. They don't have over 1 goal per match, which is insane. I mean, they're not great in possession. They only have 1 clean sheet, which I'm surprised they even have one. I'll be honest. Their expected goals not very high. I mean, this team they're going down. I predicted them in 20th. Dylan, you had them in 19th if I'm not
I
mistaken,
did
right?
have him in 19th.
Yeah, you had not
Yeah,
had them 19th because listen, Dylan was not very high on Luton, and that's where we're
yeah.
going. Well, we thought we would be going next, but we're not. 19th. I'm starting with this one because I had this one horribly wrong. It's Burnley. I did not expect them to be this bad. I thought they were going to be the best one out of the promotion teams, but looking at these statistics, this is some of them are interesting. I'm going to read a couple of them to you right now. 1 win at home. They are better on the road. They have 2 wins, 2 draws, and 6 losses on the road. Only a -7 goal difference and 8 points on the road. At home, they have conceded 24 goals at home. 24. And they have a -14 goal difference with only 3 points at home. Their top scorer is Lyle Foster. This team is an absolute mess. But if you look at the table, I mean, Burnley, I think they've won a match 5-0, but this team is a mess, and I did not expect them to be this bad. I thought their offense would still keep it up for how they played in the championship, and I was terribly wrong. I mean, looking at some of these results, they beat Fulham 2-0. That's not a bad result. They just had that heartbreaker to Villa at the end of 2023. They barely lost. They lost to Liverpool 2-0. Some of these results have been pretty atrocious, but I don't know why I expected them to do so well. I mean, they made some moves, yeah, but I don't know, Dylan. They're a weird one as well. Talk to us about Burnley.
So I'm going to give myself a little bit of credit first off. I said in the last video, I said this team is going to be in a relegation race. I didn't think they'd be this far down, but they're going to be in a relegation race come Christmas. And then they're going to start to pick up form and they're going to finish in 15th is where I believe I had them. And judging off of the recent results, we'll start from the start of December. It's a 5-0 win at home against Sheffield, then a close loss against Wolves where it was a 1-0 loss. Then they go and they draw at Brighton, which is a great result. A 2-0 loss to Everton, a 2-0 win at Fulham, a 2-0 loss to Liverpool, and then that heartbreaker to Aston Villa. That's not a bad string of games. And I said they're going to start very, very poorly. I think the only win they had for the first 3 months of the season was at Luton Town.
Yes.
So I just think that the team needed a little bit of time to get together, and I think we're starting to see that. I think this team could escape relegation if Nottingham Forest starts to struggle, if Everton starts to struggle, if the teams that they need to lose games, I don't think it's out of the question that they make it out.
Yeah, I mean, Burnley, for reference, you did have them in 15th. I had them in 14th, so that prediction, not the greatest in the world from me there, but we'll head to our other promotion friend, and that is the boys from Kenilworth Road with Luton Town, who are in 18th. And I'm going to be honest with you, Dylan. I don't think they're an 18th place team. They should be much higher. Well, not much higher, but I think they should not be a relegation team because the way they've played the top teams
Yeah,
is shocking. Let's go
yeah,
through some of these results. They drew Liverpool. They lost to Villa, but I mean, you go out, you barely lose at home to Arsenal. They had the lead multiple times against Arsenal. You had a close one with Manchester City. They beat Newcastle. They just had that unfortunate defeat after going down 3-0 and coming back against Chelsea. They have a lot of fight in them, and they're a very interesting bunch. But I got to find this one guy. Hold on one second, Dylan. Thomas Kaminsky has been playing out of his mind. And,
absolutely,
and he has
absolutely.
one of the bigger reasons why this team is where they are. Now, granted, is it going to be tough for them to get up out of relegation? Probably, because looking at the teams above them, you have Everton, who of course had that points deduction. Brentford somehow here. Nottingham Forest. There's going to be teams that's going to really throw up a good fight to try not get sent down to the championship. So Luton are in an interesting situation. They had a mini 2-game winning streak, but have lost back to back. I mean, they've scored a decent amount of goals. They scored more goals than Crystal Palace, which is an interesting thing to note, but their defense has not been very good. 37 goals conceded, which to be fair is not as bad as Sheffield conceding 49
Yeah,
goals already. I know.
yeah,
They're I think, what is it, one of 4 teams in the league with a minus double-digit goal difference, along with
yeah.
Nottingham Forest, who are the only team we haven't talked about yet. So, Dylan, talk to us about Luton.
So I am very intrigued by Luton. They seem to be able to play the tough teams very well, and they've fallen in games that I really think they should have done better in. Like that game against Brentford. That's a perfect game for them to go out and get a result, even if it's a draw. But I'm not going to nitpick too much at this team because I thought they were going to be like bona fide relegated already at this point. So I'm just really impressed by the fact that they're able to stay in these games they're fighting. They beat Crystal Palace. That was a huge win for them. And then they went and they beat Newcastle. The set pieces for this team, it's something else. You see Alfie Doughty, who's putting in beautiful corners. Elijah Adebayo getting on the end of them. Ross Barkley got on the end of one last weekend. And it's just Lockyer got on the end of one earlier this season. Hopefully he heals up well. That's a big loss for them. But Osho's been doing a good job at center back and Mengi as well. I think the team has a really good core for them. And it's just so unfortunate that the rest of the Premier League is just that little bit stronger. Because in some other years, I think this team could stay up. I think they're playing at a really high level. Kaminsky's one of the best goalies in the league. If not, like, I would even argue he's a top 5 goalie in the league this season, as
Oh,
crazy as
yeah.
that
Oh, yeah.
sounds. And then the one complaint I would have, I know they've given up a lot of goals, but I think they're starting to shore that up. I mean, Chelsea put 3 past them, but it happens. It's a good team against a relegation threatened team. I think the real problem with this team is the diversity of goal scoring because we're seeing Elijah Adebayo get on the board a lot. We're not seeing enough from Carlton Morris. We're not seeing enough from Chigozemo Gbene, not enough from Jacob Brown. not enough from Taheith Chong. There's a lot of people that can get goals on this team, but they're just not finding themselves in the spot. I would like to give the shout out to Doughty for putting in great service into the box all the time. He's been phenomenal this season. Ross Barkley's starting to reinvigorate his career. He's playing very well at the moment. But if this team wants to stay up, they need to get more people in front of the net. It can't just be an Elijah Adebayo 1-goal game.
I agree with that. Elijah Adebayo, 5 goals this season, one of the big difference makers for this team. Just one fun fact, they have almost as many goals off set pieces as open play. 10
Yeah.
goals off open play and 8 off set pieces, which is pretty good. So pretty solid from Luton. But now out of the relegation, we've talked about the teams at the bottom. Let's start going up a little bit. And we have the guys who had unfortunately had that 10-point deduction. We have Everton. I'm going to let you start with Everton because they're a very interesting case to look at as well.
So Everton, I mean, it's just so frustrating because that team is potentially 13th in the league right now. If I didn't do the math right, I'm sure, but that team could be so much higher up if that 10-point deduction didn't go against them, and
They'd be in 12th. They'd be in 12th.
they'd be in 12th. Yeah, this team is good. This team shouldn't go down, but the problem is now that they're in this position. Is Dyche going to revert back to what he's done his whole career and just play hoofball? Because at the start of the season, they were down points on the year. They needed to come back out of a relegation spot, and they played good soccer. Dwight McNeil looked like a class winger. We saw Beto start to score some goals here and there. We saw a bunch of players. Abdoulaye Doucouré was playing at the best form of his career, and now they're kind of starting to drop off again because they're not in a relegation spot. They need to get those important points. And I'm not going to hate on Sean Dyche because he's proven to be a great manager through every team he's played with. He had a little stint with Burnley that didn't go right, but now he kept Everton up. He's doing his job now. They're not in the relegation zone, barring the 10 points. I just don't know if he's going to be able to avoid being this kind of Route 1 coach. Because I think Everton have a higher floor than a 17th place finish. I think this team could finish, even with the 10 points, I think this team could finish 15th, 16th, 13th, anywhere in that kind of range. I think they're a good team. But I'm not convinced that Dyche knows that. That's where I'm stuck.
I get that. I mean, you talked about Doucouré. He has 6 goals, leading the team in goals. I'm a little frustrated with Calvert-Lewin. And
Yeah.
3 goals, he hasn't done very much. You'll take a look at Dominic Calvert-Lewin. 16 games, 3 goals with an average 6.56.
Yeah, his career is
Yikes.
coming to a halt. His
You,
his
you,
career
you,
is
it's always one of those players you expect more from, yet he's still not
yeah.
producing very well. But I mean, this team, they score a lot from set pieces as well. They have 11 goals off set
Yeah.
pieces. They have good amount of they have decent goal scoring. Talking about Dwight McNeil, he's been very solid. But one thing I think that goes under the radar is how good they are on the road. 5
Yeah.
wins on the road. I mean, they've gone in
Well,
what
absolutely.
without the deduction, 16 points on the road,
Yeah.
which is outrageous. I mean, the deduction's really going to hurt them, and it's going to be a dogfight to the end. But you said it very well. This team could be a 13th, 14th place club. They have the caliber to do that, but they really need more from Calvert-Lewin, and that's the guy I'm going to be focusing on the most. One thing I'm watching out for the rest of the season for me is is Calvert-Lewin going to actually go out there and do something? I mean, you talked about back to Doucouré, 6 goals, 1 assist, 7.24. That's fantastic for the player from Mali. Like, he's the only one being a true goal scorer, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, you've McNeil too, but he only has 2 goals. So, I don't know. McNeil does lead the team in assists, but I'm not high with Calvert-Lewin currently. But Everton's just an interesting spot. But another team that's in an interesting spot. They've lost 5 in a row. Brentford 16th.
Yeah.
What?
So we both had them really high.
9th.
If I remember, did we both have them ninth?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, that chalks up because I remember saying Ivan Toney is the important player on this team, but this team is very good at bringing in recruits. And they did something that they don't usually do. They went and they brought in proven Premier League talent in Neil Maupay, and it just has not worked. And I want to give credit where credit is due to Brentford. They still have a good enough gap between the championships teams right now and themselves, but a loss to Sheffield You can't do that. 4-1 at home against Wolves, can't do that. And I mean, it's unfortunate for a team that I think can be so much better.
I agree with that 100%. I mean, Mbuemo's playing great. He has 7 goals. He's looked very solid, but
Absolutely.
you're it's just I don't know. Their play on the road has been pretty awful. 2 wins from 9 on the road
Yeah.
with 6
Yeah.
losses. That is pretty awful. I mean, they're not doing much in the set piece department. Really, it's just Brian and Mbuemo and a hodgepodge of a bunch of other players. This
Yeah.
team has been very disappointing. And you talked about the results against Sheffield, the 4-1 the Wolves. Heartbreak, but they have had some close games. You talk about a 2-1 against Aston Villa where they led at the half and then blew it. I think it's a very popular theme with these bottom 5 teams this season. You talk about Crystal Palace after Brentford go in front again and then they blow it. It's it's a very frustrating team. On top of that, you go lose 2-1 to Brighton. Their last win was December 2nd. You
Yeah.
don't see that out of a team that we projected to finish in the top half of the league. Brentford, I love them. I think they're still very good. They have a game at hand on a lot of the teams above of them, excuse me. So one win in the league could bump them up to, I don't know, 14th. Yeah, 14th. One win could bump them to 14th. That's how close the teams from 16th to 14th, even 13th, how close they all are. But we'll go to a team that we both had being relegated next, and that's Nottingham Forest. And I'll start with Nottingham Forest here. Oh, my God. What else can I say? Anthony Alonga. I love him.
Yes.
Anthony Alonga. I mean, the way he's just played, really as of late, for me, has been one of the more underrated players in the league this season. The
Absolutely. Yeah.
21-year-old, 4 goals, 6 assists. If I watched the game against Manchester United, he had the late assist for the game winner on over the weekend. I mean, this Nottingham Forest team, they've gotten points in 3 of their last 5. They had that frustrating loss to Bournemouth,
Yeah.
which one they had the red card, and then Dominic Solanke went absolutely crazy. We'll talk about him later because he's playing out of his mind too. But
Absolutely.
they've
Yeah.
gone out and beaten a disappointing Newcastle on the road, and then they come and get out of annoying adversity and beat Manchester United after conceding 4 minutes before. Morgan Gibbs White on the counter scores right by Onana, and Nottingham win 2-1. They're a very interesting bunch. And you talk about Chris Wood, Alonga, Taiwo Awoniyi, who's one of my favorite names to say in the league. I
Yeah.
love Taiwo Awoniyi. He's playing very well. Of course, Gibbs White. They're an interesting bunch. Another big problem with these bottom half teams is how bad they are on the road. 8 points from 10 road games, which is not horrible, but it's just too many losses. 6 losses in 10. That's not very good. But they have a very interesting set of matches upcoming. They get Blackpool in the FA Cup, which is a gift. Compared to what other teams have, that's a gift. And then they get Brentford. Arsenal's kind of, that's not the best matchup. But then they get some interesting ones with Bournemouth, Newcastle, and West Ham. They have a very interesting schedule upcoming. Forest, I still feel like needs to prove themselves a little bit. Because if they lose to some of these top teams, your West Hams, your Arsenals, they're in trouble again. So can they
Yeah.
go out and get some major results in the middle part of the season? That's what I'm watching out for with Nottingham Forest.
So for me, my main critique in the preseason of Nottingham was this is a team full of players that have never played together, and how do you expect them to
Yep.
go out and give you a quality level of performance? And even though I don't think they're playing at a quality level, they are far enough away from the drop right now that I really am not concerned about them going down because this is a team with players that have played at the highest level they can. Anthony Elanga, former Manchester United player. Gonzalo Montiel won the World Cup. Divock Origi has a Champions League to his name. Ibrahim Sangare was being targeted by Manchester United earlier this season. Callum Hudson-Odoi hasn't really played much, but he was at the highest level of world soccer. Serge Aurier played at multiple World Cups. I can go on. Morgan Gibbs White, he was valued at 100 million over this offseason. This is a
Oh,
team
is
that
he?
has yeah, this is a team that has quality players. And the question was, can they figure it out altogether? And while I still think there's a lot of work to do, I don't think that this team can go down. I think they just have too much talent in order to do that. And I didn't even mention Awani. I didn't mention Danilo. There's just so many good players on this team. They have depth. They're going to be able to survive. Now, what I'm looking for them, because I'm very impressed with them, is how do they push this team from here to next season? Can they make the top half? Because I really think that's what they have in the cards.
I like that from you. It's not even forced. That's one of the. I mean, we both predict them to get relegated, but they're really
Yeah.
living up to some higher expectations. But we're gonna go to a team that has frustrated me because they've always been in the same spot for the last, I don't know, 3 years. That's Crystal Palace. I'll let you take
Oh,
the lead
Crystal
with this one.
Palace. This is the Crystal Palace of all time. It's the same exact thing every year. They have a very good group of players that have some frustrating losses here and there, and they finish just around the same place every season. And yes, they lost Wilfred Zaha, and that was expected to be a huge deal. They weren't supposed to recover from that well. But Michael Olise right now is a better player than I think Wilfred Zaha ever was. I could make a
Yes,
statement that I
yes.
think that Michael Olise could potentially be a top five winger in the Premier League at this moment, and maybe even better. So I just think that this team needs to kind of get behind that more so than the Roy Hodgson school of keeping the game defensive. I think they have enough flair in their team. Eberechi Eze barely able to give the team what he's capable of just because they're kind of constricted to this style that is, I would say, outdated. So this team has the talent to do better than this, and I think they always have. They're just, I think, coaching wise, too scared to do it. I think this team's very good.
I agree with you. You talk about Elise, Eze. You didn't talk about Otson Edward, who's their leading goal scorer. He's played very
Yeah, leading goal
solid.
scorer. He's very good striker. Yeah,
6 goals. Jordan Ayew has been very solid in the assist category. They have 5 assists. You talked about, I mean, goal scoring is my main problem for them. They're 17th in goals per match.
yeah.
17th. That's not very good. I mean, they don't concede that many, but their attack is just so lacking. And that's really going to hurt them, I think, down the stretch. I think they're going to stay where they are at the end of the year, this 12th to 14th range, which is where we
Mm-hmm.
predicted them to begin with, because the eternal frustration of Crystal Palace just doing absolutely nothing with these solid players is, well, of course, frustrating. I mean, Olise, you brought up Olise. He's played fantastic in these last couple of matches. I think he's been great throughout the season. So, can these players elevate themselves more with the tactic of Hodgson? I don't know. I mean, they do have an interesting. This is another team with an interesting schedule coming up. In their next 5 matches, they play they play Brighton, who've been interesting. They play Everton twice, so in the cup and then in the league. They get Burnley soon. So this is a team that can go out and grab some wins. Maybe string a draw with Arsenal. I mean, Arsenal's looked not very good recently. I mean, they can go out there and beat Sheffield United. I think they have to go out and beat these not as good teams in order to elevate themselves. Because I think if they start falling a little bit, they could maybe put themselves in a little bit of trouble that they don't need to be in. But I don't think this team is going to be anywhere near relegation at the end of the day. But
Mm-hmm.
now we're going to go to a team in 13th that we had very opposite points on, and that's Fulham. I'll start with Fulham because I thought they were going to be not. I mean, I thought they were going to be okay, but I don't know. I just feel disappointed with them. I'm be dead honest. I mean, Anthony Robinson's their leading foot mob rate has their leading foot mob rating. For
Yeah,
context, that's concerning. But Raul Jimenez 5 goals, Bobby Reed 4 with Willian 2. They're scoring goals. They can't get a set piece, but they've not really been known for that. I don't feel like they're an interesting bunch. I mean, they're just average. They're just average at best. They do concede a lot of goals though. Almost
yes,
2 goals conceded per match. I mean, they do have a. What's weird is they concede a lot, but they're top 7 in clean sheets, which is
yes,
even more confusing.
yeah.
This
They gave up five to City earlier this season. They gave up they gave up three to Villa. They gave up 4 to
They have 3 to
Liverpool,
Bournemouth. Jesus.
3 to Newcastle, 3 to Bournemouth. Yeah, it's just a lot of bad results.
I mean, you're hoping this is where this is one of those moments where I think a season can turn around based on playing a bad team in the cup. And if tomorrow I mean, tomorrow starts the FA Cup, whatever round we're in, but they play Rotherham, which is. I
Yeah.
remember when the draw came out. I watched the draw. I'm like, this is one team that I wanted Arsenal to get because I wanted an easy game in the cup, but unfortunately we have to play Liverpool. But I think this is where a moment for Fulham. They don't play a league match till January 13th, which is an
Yeah.
interesting stat to know. They play Rotherham, and then they play Liverpool away in the cup. So they play Chelsea, they get Liverpool again, Everton. After they get through Liverpool the second time, very interesting next 3 games. They have Everton, Burnley, and Bournemouth. I think that's situations or games where you can really grab some points. They've been very good at Craven Cottage this season. 6 wins from 10. They haven't drawn a game at home. They're one of the few teams that have actually looked really solid at home from the teams we talked about so far. Fulham, they're an interesting one. I'm interested to see how they play out the rest of their season.
So I think Fulham are the strangest team in the Premier League this season. I really just don't have a grasp on them. They went out and they had a 5-0 win over Forest and then a 5-0 win over West Ham in back-to-back games. And then they lost
Yep.
3-0 to Newcastle, 2-0 to Burnley, 3-0 to Bournemouth in a row. And then they went and beat Arsenal. So there's just like no grasp on what this team is. It's just so up and down. And I like what you said. They just don't have a consistent goal scoring threat. And I think Jimenez is their leading scorer, but that's 6 goals from him. They've all come within the last few games of the season. How did they score goals early in the season? I mean, it was the start of the season with a win over Everton, 1-0. They drew Arsenal earlier in the season. It was Andreas Pereira and Polina. The goals just are not coming from a consistent enough place. And I know I critiqued Luton for having too consistent of a goal scoring base. I don't trust Raul Jimenez to score more than 10 goals this season. So how is this team going to really score goals? I don't know. I think this team, more so than a team like Palace or more so than a team like Forest, could be in that relegation race come the end of this season because I just don't know where their goals are going to come from. I mean, they're still in 2 cup competitions. They they have no clear wins in their repertoire because you just don't know what you're going to get from this team in a day in day out basis. Do I think they're going to go down? No, they're probably going to be fine. But I wouldn't be surprised if come April this team is 3 points as safe of the drop.
I like that idea. I mean, I'm going to list some of the opponents they have left. This is really sad. They play Liverpool a lot. They play Liverpool 3 times through May, including twice in the next couple of weeks. They still have to play Liverpool in the league. They have to play City again. I mean, they play United at Old Trafford. Like, they play Chelsea away. They still have some interesting opponents left. Villa. Bournemouth has seemed to be a problem for everybody, I feel like, at this point, because Bournemouth's just playing out of their mind. And, of course, that's where we're heading next. Bournemouth. And I'm going to start with this so you don't take my idea here. My guy, Dominic Solanke, he is
Yeah.
playing out of his mind. I want him on Arsenal very bad. And he's
Yes.
12 goals. 12. 12. For reference, he is almost outscoring Sheffield already. This dude is a freaking maniac. And I mean, they're playing so well. They're pretty much scoring how they're supposed to be. Tavernier, he's playing okay. He's 4 assists. Semenyo is playing how I thought he would. Kluivert has a couple of goals. But outside Solanke, they're not really getting goals out of anybody. They're really relying on Solanke. And I'm wondering who else can emerge from that team as that second goal scorer. I don't know who that is. That's the
So for
one thing
me,
I'm locking out for them.
yeah.
But I mean, their defense has been okay. They're good home and away, I feel like, but Dominic Solanke. I had to take that from you, but
Yeah.
the one thing I'm looking out for is they concede a lot too. They're 15th in goals conceded per match. I mean, they don't possess the ball very much. I mean, they still get a good amount of clean sheets and all that, yeah, but their defense is interesting with 1.8 goals allowed per game, which isn't good, but it's not like horrible. But another, I love this Bournemouth team because of Solanke, and I think Solanke might have earned himself a big money move if he wanted it. But
I
he's an
think he might
interesting.
have, yeah, I think he earned himself an England call up as well.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, it's really like I said, who's gonna be that second goal scorer? That's my big focus for Bournemouth.
So I think the answer to that is either Sinistera or Kluivert. I think that they're going to start to get goals for this team. And Semenyo's solid, Utara's solid, but they're not expected to get that many goals. They're going to be primarily coming in off the bench. But I'm more focused on how is this team winning away so much? This is a team that coming into the season, I placed them 11th because I thought their home field was a fortress. Within the last month alone, they've taken points from Palace. They beat Palace at Palace. They won 3-0 at Old Trafford. They won at Nottingham, and they won at Sheffield in November. They got points at home against Villa. This is a team that I think is gonna figure it out and potentially challenge for top half. And I'm so high on this team. I love Dominic Solanke. I think the defense is starting to figure it out. Tyler Adams should be back midway through this next half of the season, which will be a major addition for them. I think Bournemouth could finish higher than even Chelsea because I think they have the ability to win away from home, which is what I really didn't know whether or not they had. Now, the performance at the Vitality Stadium, while the results don't look that terrible for them, I'm disappointed because I think that place is a fortress and they should be doing better. But I expect that to grow with the group they have. I think they'll win more games at home as the season goes on. I'm very high on this Bournemouth team.
Yeah, I mean, Bournemouth. It's really Solanke. That's what's really catching all the headlines. What is he? I just want to find out a stat real quick. Solanke is tied third in goal scoring.
Yep.
That's insane. And he's in company with Salah and Holland. My
Yeah.
guy, Dominic Solanke. But we're going to a team that played a phenomenal, had a great 3-0 win over the weekend and looked, I think, totally dominant against Everton. That's Wolves, who I was not high on in the beginning of the year. I wasn't.
Neither was I.
And, well, they're really proving me wrong, led by He Chan Huang, who has double-digit goals on the season. Mateus Cunha is up there with goals as well. He is 6. He's playing very solid as well. Pedro Neto, 7 assists. It's one of the top assisters in the league. They're getting goals out of a variety of players. They're top 10 in goals scored per game. They don't concede a lot. I mean, according to these stats, they don't get a lot of clean sheets, though. And that's the one thing I'm looking out for. 14th in clean sheets. Very interesting. But listen, they're finding ways to score goals. They're finding ways to get results. You go out and beat Brentford. They beat Chelsea 2-1. They got on and grabbed results against Nottingham and Burnley, which is expected. They played an interesting one with Arsenal, which I thought Arsenal was going to lose. I had a feeling they were going to lose, find a way to bottle it. They beat Tottenham, but they have losses against teams like Sheffield United. Not very good. So
Yeah.
they're an interesting bunch. They open with the cup on the weekend, but they open with playing Brighton, United, and Chelsea. Interesting bunch of games, and we'll see how this team will come out of the break. But after tomorrow, they don't play a game till January 22nd.
It's a big break.
What is this schedule? Whoever made this schedule is a menace. I mean,
Yeah, I don't quite understand that one.
nothing makes sense with these schedules. And they've played the same amount of games as like Chelsea or Newcastle. Like it just doesn't make any sense, but this team has been interesting. I mean, I still think they have a lot more left in them. I just don't know how they're going to be able to like handle teams like Chelsea, like Newcastle, even though they still have a lot of quality. I mean, they also end the season with an interesting way as well, playing City, Arsenal, and Liverpool in their last 5 matches,
Wow. Yeah.
including 2 of those away to City
Yeah.
and they end the season away to Liverpool. So I don't know how they're going to finish, but I feel like this could be I think they can go much higher than this, but I also think they can slide.
Yeah, I mean this team really turned a corner. They lost 3-0 at West Ham and they turn around, they beat Chelsea, they win by 3 at Brentford and they win by 3 against Everton. And I think this team is a team that can get results on top teams. They beat Tottenham. They beat Man City earlier in the year. It's a good team, but I just don't know whether or not they can push any higher than they are right now because if you look at the teams ahead of them and even some of the teams below them, I think Bournemouth have a higher ceiling than them. And I just don't see Wolves really challenging any of these teams unless we see a West Ham fall off or we see a Chelsea fall off. I don't know how much better they can get. That's my only complaint about them because they're playing good right now. They're playing really good soccer. I just He Chang Huan, I feel like he's playing the best soccer of his career, and I don't know how much better he can get. I might sound like a hater right now. I just don't know where the way up is for them because the coaching isn't really like it's not visionary. There's no player on this team that's elevating everyone else. I don't think they have the money to make a big signing in January. I just don't know if they can get any better. But I mean, good season for them. I had them finishing, I think, 16th or 15th this season.
Yeah, both of us had them down there.
It's a good push up for them for sure.
Let me ask you this question because I talked about this on the last video, and then I put up it's one of the few edits I did during the video. How impactful for this team was the loss of Ruben Neves? If you think there is an impact.
So it's weird because the team got better, but I wouldn't say that's a direct impact of them losing Neves and then later losing Nunez, which we didn't even get to cover because he left later.
Yeah.
But the team changed formation. Lemina has looked phenomenal. And I would say the big impact is the change in formation is, first of all, the most important thing because you now have Sarabia, Cunha, and Huang kind of playing as a trio of attacking players. There's no direct striker. But the four across the middle of Semedo Aït-Nouri, and then it could be Joao Gomez, it could be Hugo Bueno, could be Tommy Doyle. There's no determined lineup. Yeah, it could be Lamina. Those guys run so much. And that's what makes this team tick is just they're all over the field. I don't have any stats near me. Maybe you can help me out. But I would be pretty certain that this team is probably top 5 in ground covered this season. So that's what makes this team. That's what makes this team tick. At least what I'm watching.
Ground covered. They're top 6. And
Yeah.
5th.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair play. That's pretty good. But we're gonna go to the team that won over the weekend and is led by Cold Palmer in it.
Yeah.
Like I said, we got Chelsea. I'll let you start on them because I don't even know what to say about them yet.
Yeah, I mean, they say it gets worse before it gets better. I don't know if that's the truth here because it can't get much worse than they were last year. But the players that they've brought in, and I'll give Mikhailo Mudryk a little bit of a break because he's starting to kind of look like a competent player, I guess. But I'm going to go off on Romeo Lavia, hasn't made an appearance yet. Enzo Fernandez, I mean, he's good, not good enough. Moises Caicedo, not good enough. Nicholas Jackson, a sorry excuse for a professional striker. There's just too many players that they spent egregious sums of money on that are not making impacts in the slightest. I mean, even look down at the defense. Disasi isn't that good. Badiashile isn't that good. It's not a good enough team for the amount that they're spending, and they're not going to get any better because I promise you, if Chelsea don't win the cup, if Chelsea don't finish top 4, Pochettino's out. So this team has no way up. They could finish as high as 6th this year. I'll say if they figure it out and start winning games, they won't do any better than 6th because everyone else in this league is too good already. They're too far behind. They have a bright future with some of the guys that they have in here. I mean, Georgi Petrovic has been phenomenal since he stepped in net. I think he's a better goalkeeper than Robert Sanchez. He should keep the job. Malo Gusto has looked okay. Conor Gallagher's looked good. Noni Madueke is starting to figure stuff out. And then you bring in Andre Santos, Carne, Chukwuemeka, Kendry Paez for the future. Those guys will be good for them. I have no doubt in my mind. But what does it matter if you can't win anything? If you don't win any of these cups, there's no progress because Pochettino is going to get fired, and then the next guy's going to get fired, and it all stems from the coach who doesn't know the owner who doesn't know how to own a soccer team. So 10th place makes sense given they've lost some really bad games. They've won some good games, but they've lost to Wolves. They've lost to Everton. They've lost to United. They've lost to Newcastle 4-1. But it's just this team isn't going to figure it out until the ownership either takes a step back and lets someone who actually understands the sport run the team, or they just empty the full house.
I mean, you mentioned some of their bad losses. They lost at home. I'm pulling this game up because I did talk about this on when I did this video. Um, they got out XG'd and lost 2-0 at home to Brentford.
Yeah.
2-0. Despite only conceding 7 shots, they lost 2-0 to Brentford. That's
Yep.
amazing. But another team with, for me, eternal frustration. You talked about no progress. You're not wrong. They are led by the Cole Palmer is from City has been probably. I mean, he's been their best player. I'm gonna say
He's
he's
been
their
good.
best player.
He's been
I
good,
can't.
yeah.
Nicholas Jackson somehow has 7 goals, but when you look
I
at the
don't
numbers,
I
how does he have a
can't
7.02 match rating? How? Why? I mean,
does I mean I think FootMob makes good ratings. Just in general, I trust what they put out there, but I've watched enough Nicholas Jackson to know that there's no way that's right.
7.02. Yeah, no. Sterling has 5 goals. I didn't even realize that. Enzo Fernandez, 6.9. Jesus. I mean, you would expect more from him. Mudryk, the numbers. When you go up what's funny is when you look at as the goal scoring gets higher, the ratings get worse, which is
Yeah.
outrageous. Their best player by match rating. I want you to take a guess. Who do you think is their best player by FootMob rating?
My guess would be Thiago Silva.
Well, he's not top 3. It's Gallagher.
Oh, okay. Okay.
7.46. Fair play to Conor Gallagher. He has 4 assists. Cole
Yeah.
Palmer, though, is playing. He's their leading goal scorer. He's their leading assister. Is anyone else going to do anything consistently? I doubt it. This team will finish in 9th or 10th and just continue to frustrate everyone. The Americans don't know what they're doing owning soccer teams. I mean, you're seeing more influence in the lower teams like Tom Brady being part of an owner at Birmingham, I think. Which, speaking of
That
Birmingham,
team,
they're now in eternal
yeah.
frustration as well because they sacked Rooney last week, which is hilarious because they're a mess. But
That needed to happen. He was a
yeah,
terrible
the
coach. I don't know,
Americans don't know what
just
they're doing.
just a little bit of a off turn on just the general topic of this video. Why do teams hire Wayne Rooney? Isn't it like common knowledge that he's like not smart? I don't really get what the thought process is. Like as a player, even like I don't know. I don't know what the appeal to hiring Wayne Rooney ever was. Like for DC United, I guess it made sense because he
DC United
played
makes
there.
sense.
You're not going to get a better you know what? Yes, you will. You will get a better coach. He is proven time and again to be a terrible coach. Anyway, I digress. Let's go back to the general part of this video.
I gotta remember to clip this. Oh my god.
Yeah.
But Chelsea 8 wins from 20. It's one of those moments where you always expect more. They've been good at home and away. They've been very balanced. I mean, I don't know. I'm done talking about the frustration of Chelsea. Let's go to I forgot who's 9th. Oh jeez.
It's Newcastle.
Newcastle. I'll let you take away with your boys from Newcastle who were in a mess for just a while, it feels like now.
So I was wrong. I was definitely wrong. I'm ready
Okay.
to I'm ready to admit that one. I mean, I will give myself a little bit of the benefit of the doubt because I did say that Sandro Tonali was going to be the best signing of the season, and that like didn't happen. But I feel like if he was able to play, I think it would be a very different Newcastle team. But even so, you can't lose to Luton Town and Nottingham Forest back to back. That can't happen. You go out in the group stage of the Champions League, you don't even get Europa League placement. You get pummeled at Tottenham, pummeled at Everton. You have a few good-ish wins against Man U and Chelsea, but does that even count at this point? I don't know. But like this team should be they should be doing so much better than they are, and I think a lot of it had to do with overly chasing Champions League glory. I don't think that's gonna. I think that will be a difference in the second half of the season. They'll be more healthy and more capable of playing at a higher level. but still 10th at this point in the season. It's just not good enough. This is a team that should be in Champions League contention every season with the players they have. I mean, Alexander Isak's one of the best strikers in the world. Bruno Guimaraes, one of the best midfielders in the world. Sven Botman, one of the best defenders in the world. They have some of the best players in the world. They have to be doing better.
I'm going to read you a stat, and I just need your reaction to this.
All right.
One win on the road. One.
Wow.
One. Uno.
Wow.
Singular win. And I'll let you guess. Who do you think it was against?
It was that game against Sheffield. That was at Sheffield. That was that
No.
8-0 win, right?
No. Actually,
No?
that was in the Cup. It might have been. I saw they had a Cup win away to United, which would have been funny as hell.
Okay.
Their win on the road was the 8-0 to Sheffield.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's outrageous. This is... You talked about Isak. Callum Wilson is playing solid. Anthony Gordon just shows up in some of these bigger games.
Yeah.
I'm not going to mention any of them. Arsenal. But they're 8-0-2 at home. They're so good at St. James's Park and just can't play football anywhere else, apparently. That's my guess on this. I mean, you talk about their Champions League run. I'm just going to bring this up. They bottled it. They kind of bottled it.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
AC Milan at home, they got out XG'd, I think, 4 of their last 5 Champions League games?
Yeah.
Yep, 4 of their last 5. They actually out XG'd Dortmund at home somehow. But their schedule's not getting any easier. Their first 2 league games back are City and Villa.
Yeah.
And on top of red-hot Bournemouth, Arsenal. This is going to be hell for Newcastle. They're in trouble, and they need someone to step up. And a player who I'm going to look at to step up here, because I talked about him being good in big matches, is Anthony Gordon on the wing. I think he's been very solid, and one of those guys who I think can make a real impact. Almiron possibly could be in that list as well. Callum Wilson, Isak. They need to go out there and win these winnable games. And I think they kick it off. I mean, they have like the easiest cup match ever in the mockery at the Stadium of Light, which if you're not sure what's going on at the Stadium of Light, please go right into this. It is the most hilarious thing I've ever seen. I've never seen anything worse. Also, they play Luton. I have a feeling they're going to lose, but it's at St. James's Park, so it's probably going to be a win. The only positive they have in playing City at St. James's Park. But they're going to lose to Villa away. I have a feeling, going to struggle with Nottingham Forest somehow. Arsenal is away. They're so bad on the road that I can't back them to win, guarantee beat anyone. Other than, Burnley or Luton. I mean, they lost to Luton away already, so I can't even mention them.
Yeah.
They're so frustrating. A lot of these teams from 8 to 10 are so frustrating. And this is another one. We're going to talk about them next. United. 8th. United. Hooray. I'm starting with this because I have to get this out of the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
This team is so bad. I hate this team. Watching this team every single day. This is more frustrating than Chelsea. I'm dead serious. This team is more frustrating. And the reason I can't watch a game of this thing anymore, they have 10 wins and have scored less goals. They have the same amount of goals scored as Crystal Palace. They have less goals scored than Luton. And they have barely more goals scored than Burnley. They're in 8th. How is this possible? This should not work. They have a negative goal difference in 8th. There are teams below them with better goal differences. I mean, Wolves have a better goal difference than Manchester United. They're in 8th. This is hilarious. I hyped up Rasmus Højlund. I was wrong. I hyped up Marcus Rashford. I was wrong. Scott McTominay is their leading goal scorer still. But one thing that really needs to go under the microscope is the emergence of another Argentine player. Garnacho.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this dude, despite him playing really solid, has a 6.93 average rating. 3 goals, 2 assists, but I feel like he's doing more than that. Bruno Fernandes. He's a 7.5. He's done things, but their third highest match rating on average. is Harry Maguire.
Wow.
Harry Maguire. This team is a meme team. I'm dead serious. Let's look at. They are 17th in goals per match, but they don't concede, and that's the only reason they're here. They're fourth in goals conceded. Fourth. Fourth. The only teams that have conceded less goals than Manchester United on average are Liverpool, Arsenal, and City. They have a top four defense somehow, and this team is an eighth. They can't score. I'm done talking about this sorry team. Please let me end my rant and go talk about Manchester
All right.
United because this is so frustrating.
So you said fourth. You said fourth in goals allowed, right?
Yep.
Now, imagine if their goalkeeper was not Andre Onana.
Who I said was going to be bad, too. I said he was going to be bad.
Yeah. Um, it's comedy how bad Andre Onana has been. It's comedy that I haven't heard Mason Mount's name since the first 2 weeks of the season. I mean, what is this team? I'm asking you because I just don't know. Like Casemiro's fallen off a cliff. That's kind of unfortunate. Bruno Fernandes hasn't been good enough this season. Rashford has been terrible this season. Sancho's getting ready to leave. Sofian Amrabat hasn't appeared since the World Cup. Antony is still spinning around in circles. Rasmus Højlund is not doing anything. I mean,
He scored a
where
goal. He scored a goal, ladies and
he got
gentlemen.
he got a
Scored
goal.
a goal. Go
He
on,
got a
Højlund.
goal.
I hate
And
the play.
I liked Rasmus Højlund. I watched him a lot at Atalanta. And I just don't know. I just don't know what's going wrong. I mean, the answer is they haven't gotten service. And I like how Garnacho's played, but it's just not enough service from him or Antony or Rashford or whoever's on the side. I'll give credit to McTominay. I'll give credit to Maguire. They've proven to be at least competent players in this team. But this is Manchester United, and I'm all for playing the youth. But this Manchester United team, there is no reason that Hannibal Mejbri should be playing in any circumstance. Kobbie Mainoo, I know he's young. Give him a few years. He's not good right now. And the same goes for like a Shola Shortire, or even like right now. Why are we playing Martial ever? Why does that
That's
make
a
any sense?
great question. Sell
Why
this
is
man.
why is Anthony Martial still in red? He should have been in the Turkish Super League 2 seasons ago. I don't quite get that, but I just think that the United team needs a full reset. Get rid of everyone. Get rid of
Wow,
Ten
Dylan has
Hag.
lagged out. The
Oh, really?
Wi-Fi apparently has not
Wi-Fi's
worked for
gone?
anyone. Now your Wi-Fi went
What?
out for a sec.
Oh, okay. Where was I?
I don't even know. Just finish your rant on the edge. You talk about I don't even know the young players.
Oh, okay. I mean, Kobbie Mainoo, Hannibal Mejbri. What are they? Why are they playing? Why are they playing? Like Anthony Martial, he should have been in the Turkish Super League. Like I don't quite get what the appeal is to this team. They're not going to do any better than this. They could be much worse than this. I think that they can finish bottom half, and that's where everything gets reset. Let's go on to Brighton.
Actually, before we go to Brighton, I want to ask you one question. What do you think Højlund's market value and FootMob rating are currently?
Okay. So market value, I'm going to play this a little bit expensive, probably too expensive. I'm going to say 60 million.
It's more than that.
It's more than that. 70.
72. 72.
72. Okay.
What's the rating?
Okay. I'm going 6.7.
It's much lower than that.
6.4.
6.49, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
6.49, 15 matches, 1 goal, 0 assists. This is where it gets really fun. His XG is lower than Martial. 3.17. Let me just double check it because it's lower than Martial's for like forever. Though Martial does have a 6.29 match rating. Oh no, it did get higher because of that 1 goal. Amazing. Martial's is like a 1.3. Højlund, out of recent performances, has gone up to just under a 3, which concerning for everyone. But enough about Manchester United's frustration. This is going on forever. We're going to go to Brighton. The Seagulls are next. I'll start with them because they have been very interesting. João Pedro is playing great. Evan Ferguson's playing solid. Pascal Gross 7.6. I don't know where that's come from. Probably because of the 6 assists. Kairo Mitoma is playing all right. Estupiñán's okay. This team, they're not a good. Again, another bad team on the road, but they've gone on and had some. They've drawn two teams in the relegation battle. They've
Yeah.
drawn Sheffield and Burnley both at home, which makes this even more puzzling. But they did draw West Ham, and they're going to say, oh, yeah, West Ham, great draw. Good for them. Good for them. Now go lose in the Europa League to whoever they're going to lose, because they've won their Europa League group, and granted, they deserved it. In the battle of, I'm calling this the developmental clubs group, because they had, I think, were they in the group with Ajax? Yeah, they had
Yes,
a
they
group
were.
with Marseille and Ajax. They're in the developmental clubs group. They went out and won their group. Good for them. But, I mean, another team I'm expecting more from. I don't know. Granted, okay, they have only lost, what, 2 of their last 10? And it was Chelsea and Arsenal. But you would expect more in games like Palace, games like Burnley, Sheffield United. You just would expect more, and that's my thoughts on them.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I'm just going to ask again, where does this team find its players? Like, in what scenario should Jack Hinchelwood be one of the best fullbacks in the league? I had never heard of him before this season. Why is Billy
Same.
Gilmore good? Why is Billy Gilmore good again? Why is Jean Paul Van Heck a solid center back in the Premier League? Why is Facundo Bunanote one of the best attacking midfielders? What is this team? If you look up Facundo Bunanote, if you look in Brighton's roster on Google, you see his shot chart. You don't even see a picture of him. You see his shot chart from a game. It's I was looking at their roster and I saw that. I thought I'd bring that up, but the team is good. They're gonna win games. I agree with you. They lost some games here and there that they shouldn't have, but I think they're starting to figure it out. I think this team is going to stay around this spot for the rest of the season because, again, they're able to go out and win games. I think De Zerbi is one of the best coaches in the world, and the roster. Even if a guy gets sold in the next window, if Estupinian goes to a bigger club, if a Dinger goes to a bigger club, whatever happens, they'll find someone to replace them. They have no problems with that. They'll be fine.
We'll next go to a club. I'm going to let you talk about West Ham first because I need to apologize eventually for my thoughts on West Ham. Please talk to us about West Ham United, Dylan, because they're in 6th and they've won. They've gotten points in 4 of their last 5.
So I think West Ham have done. I think they had the best transfer window of anyone in this last window, and they just let Thilo Kehrer go to Monaco earlier today, which is interesting
Really?
enough because this is a team that's in a race for Champions League even. But bringing in Mohamed Kudus, who has been absolutely phenomenal, Edson Alvarez, great, James Ward-Prowse, great, Kostas Mavropanos, great, and then you add that into Jared Bowen having a revival, Tomas Suchek playing well again, Mikel Antonio Naif Aguirre, but the main piece to this team is Lucas Paqueta, who has been, if not the best attacking midfielder in the league, a top 3, and he is the reason this team is doing so well. And when he makes his move to the Man Cities of the world or to the Barças of the world, that team is unbeatable. That team is unbeatable. Like I was referring to like a Man City with Paqueta or a Barca with Paqueta. He is one of the best players in the world, and I don't think he's getting enough praise at the moment. I mean, you just watch him. He just plays at a level that is so much higher than everyone else on the field in practically every game. So I think that without him, which it's possible that he goes and he makes a move even in this window, he could. I mean, as far as we know, he could be in Barca in 2 days. He could be in Saudi Arabia because they can make a move for him whenever they want. Because I don't think he's committed to staying at West Ham for the full length of this project. He's been around. He's been in Lyon. He's been in Milan. He's been a bunch of places. But he's one of the best players in the world, and that's the reason that this team's so good.
Remember when Arsenal got Declan Rice? I thought this team would be near us. This team would beat West Ham twice.
Yeah.
Arsenal against West Ham has been the most frustrating results I've ever seen. And let's dive into this, please. Arsenal against West Ham. Arsenal has a -4 goal difference. They've been outscored. Was it 4-1? Was it 5-1? 5-1. Arsenal has looked terrible against them, and Declan Rice has been made to look like a fool. And well, I guess what? We still have to go back to West Ham again. I didn't realize one of them was in the cup when I made my video last week. I didn't realize we
Yeah.
have to freaking play West Ham again. And I don't want to. But West Ham has a gift of a schedule to start the second half. They really do. Sheffield, Bournemouth, Manchester United. And then they play Arsenal, who I think they're going to beat Arsenal again. So at this rate, then they get Forest and Brentford. This schedule through end of February is a gift. And granted, hold on. 3 of their last 4 are against some of the big 6 teams. You got Chelsea. You have Liverpool. You end with City away, which I think is going to cost them a European place. But I have to give some love to some of these players. And where is he? Oh, he's not even on West Ham. That's hilarious. Okay, we'll talk about Leon Bailey later. We'll start with Jared Bowen, who is playing crazy good right now. 11 goals in 19 matches. He's playing fantastic. Kudus, Suchek, James Ward-Prowse has played solid. Mikel Antonio, isn't he injured? Antonio?
I think he's injured right now, yeah.
Yeah, he's
Bowen's
injured.
been
Who
playing
I
up top.
hyped up in like my second Premier League video of the year. I really hyped up Mikel Antonio. 6.77. Man, I'm not good at this. But you talk about, it's really, Paqueta has played 2 goals, 5 assists for Paqueta. He's going to earn himself a big money move somewhere. But they're outscoring their XG by a lot. It's actually more than you think. 33 goals on 20, like just under. Actually, now it's exactly at 28 expected goals. So they're outscoring their XG by a lot. They're very balanced home and away. They concede a lot on the road, which may be a little bit of a concern. This team is fine. I think they're really going to challenge for a European place. And guess what? I didn't think I'd say this in the beginning of the year because I had them 13th. They deserve it. And now it's time, because I'm going to start with Tottenham, because I'm not letting you start with Tottenham.
Yeah, of course.
Tottenham. Welcome to Europa League, Tottenham. Oh, God, Tottenham. James Maddison has been one of my favorite signings this season. Son Heung-min, or Heung-min Son, however you want to say it, has 12 goals. He's playing fantastic. The reemergence of Richarlison?
Yeah.
6 goals? Pedro Porro playing good at right back. James Maddison is one of the highest match ratings in the league. 7.91. And he is playing fantastic. This team, while I do not think, I think their trophy cabinet will stay empty, and they're going to need to clear out the dust in a couple of years. Well, it will stay the way it is. This team is doing way better than I thought they would. And it's really, for me, how good they've played at home this season. 7 wins from 10. And granted, they've gone out and gotten some pretty solid results, especially from the beginning of the year. I was concerned with them drawing Brentford. I really was. But they rattle off a ton of... They were unbeaten until November. Unbeaten. November. Shouldn't go together when your name is Tottenham. But yet it did. And then they started to fall off because of injuries. You lose to Chelsea. You lose to Wolves 2-1. You lose to West Ham, Aston Villa, Brighton now. They have an interesting schedule coming up. I want to see, though, what is this? Is this team going to stay in 5th? Like, are they going to? Is this sustainable? Is Maddison going to come back? Is Maddison going to continue to play the way he is? He's injured right now, which kind of sucks. I love James Maddison. Is Son going to score 20-plus goals again? Is they going to really have to rely on that? They got to rely on Richarlison to score about, 12 through the rest of the total for this season? Yeah. I don't know. They're a very interesting bunch. I think this is your time to shine, Dylan. Please talk to us about Tottenham.
Oh, man. I was wrong. And it took me a while to even think that I was wrong. I thought that this team was going to have the heaviest fall off with the injury crisis, and I was kind of like, oh, I might have been saved by the bell. But
nope.
This team went out against Bournemouth, who I rank very highly. I had them higher than Tottenham in my standings predictions at the start of the year. They went out on New Year's Eve with a lineup that had no center backs. They had Pedro Porro, Emerson, Ben Davies, and Destiny Udogie in the back. And they went and they won convincingly. And that's when it hit me that this team is going to be able to compete regardless of who they play against. and what their injury problem is, because they have A, one of the best players in the world in Heung-min Son, B, one of the best goalkeepers in the world, if not the best goalkeeper in the world this season in Vicario, and lastly, the guy that I had being the reason that they were going to finish 12th is actually quite the reason that this team is going to, I think, qualify for the Champions League this year. Ange Postecoglou, do I owe you an apology? One of the best coaches that we've seen this season, in the last few seasons. He came in, he completely revitalized everything. And I'm just, first off, shocked. And not to say that there's not going to be challenges in the road. This team loses Son for the Asia Cup. This team loses Papsar for the AFCON. There's going to be problems with that. Injuries are still a problem. Bentancur's coming back soon, which is huge. Lo Celso has looked reinvigorated in his career now. But this Tottenham team, man, are they something else? I'm impressed. I'm shocked. I think they're going to be legit forcing even potentially the title race. So they had that little fall off, but they're starting to book it back now. I think this seems legit.
By the way, next week I will be breaking down the entire AFCON and Asian Cup. So make sure, for those watching, to make sure to check out the video next week. And now it's time for my club, and I have to start with them because I have a lot to
Yeah, of
say.
course.
Fourth, Arsenal. Hello. Welcome back to Eternal Frustration of Arsenal. This team is so frustrating. And granted, I did not expect to say that like 2 weeks ago, because they were in first at Christmas and just partying the night away. Little did I know that they would drop off by getting out XG'd by Fulham.
Yeah.
How is this possible? We played Fulham, and you barely got out XG'd by Fulham. What are we doing? I can't even say we because I'm not even part of the damn club. But this is so frustrating. And it's really because of the lack of goal scoring. Your second leading goal scorer is a guy who warms the bench in Eddie Nketiah. How? Why? What are they doing? You could argue that they have some of the best match rating players in the world. You can argue that they're scoring right around what their XG is. And they are. They're scoring 37 goals, and their expected goals, 37. Fair enough. They can't score. They had like a... Hold on, I gotta pull up this stat. How many... Hold on. How much XG did they have against freaking West Ham? Because this... Actually, no, Aston Villa even. Actually, I know they got out XG by Aston Villa. What was the XG against West Ham?
I'm not sure.
2.77. 2.77. 30 shots to 6. 0 goals. I talked about that on my Instagram. I made a story about it. Outshot them 30 to 6. 0 goals. This is the better Manchester United. This is such a frustrating team. Who does it fall on? I don't even know. I mean, one thing I am excited for possibly later in the season to be yelling, what's that song? With Jury and Timber. They made like a edit for him.
I know what you're talking about. I don't know how it goes though.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even remember what it was. Let me know what it is in the comments. But Bukayo Saka has 6 goals and 6 assists. Should I expect more from him? Probably. Hold on. What's his XG? Oh my god. It's actually not as high as I think it should be. It's only 6.88. That's kind of interesting. These 6 goals from that. But he started 19 matches. I'm expecting more from Bukayo Saka. Kai Havertz has turned a corner. And I remember people bashing him in the beginning of the year. And he's turned a corner. He
looks all right,
he
yeah.
was suspended for yellow card accumulation recently. But I think he's going to be... I didn't expect to say this in the beginning of the year. He's going to be one of the most impactful players that Arsenal has the rest of the way, is Kai Havertz. If he keeps it up from what he did with his recent form. Martinelli needs to pick it up. Jesus needs to pick it up if they want any form of a chance to be still in the title race. And they need to figure out who's playing freaking goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I could not be more... I've never been this frustrated at a goalkeeper since when the United States men's national team tried qualifying for the World Cup in 2018 and how bad their
With
goalkeepers are. I have
Brad
not been that
Guzan,
frustrated
yeah.
in 5 years. Figure it out. That's all I'm saying on this damn team.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fair. So Arsenal, I think they have one of the best defenses in the league, if not the best. I think Saliba is one of the best defenders in the league, if not the best. Rice is one of the best defensive midfielders in the league, if not the best. But there's just too many holes for this team to win the title, and I'll tell you why I don't think they can. Jesus doesn't score enough. I think they should replace him and put in Nketiah. I've been pro Gabriel Jesus for pretty much all of the time that I've had a voice on a platform and been able to talk about it. I've loved Gabriel Jesus. I think he's very undervalued. I think he was very good for Man City throughout the entire time he was there. But the matter of the fact is, Arsenal needs a goal scoring forward, and Gabriel Jesus is just not that. Eddie Nketiah scores more than him. He should be starting. Goalkeeping. Aaron Ramsdale is like me playing goalie. He can't focus. He like, have you seen, there's like an interview of him where he's like,
Yes.
oh yeah, if 15 minutes go by and there's not a shot, I kind of go talk to the fans. I'm like, you're a goal, that's like not good at all. And then David Raya just sucks, so that doesn't really help anyone. So you have
I'm
you have
still
that
so mad we
problem.
got him. I'm still so mad we got David Ray. What are they doing? He's not
So,
better than Ramsdale. Ramsdale played for the England national team. Stop playing this man. I'm done.
yeah, so then you have that goalkeeper controversy. It's kind of like what's the better of two evils there, and then the midfield. And I like the players you have there. Like Odegaard's a great player, Rice is a great player, and it's that one spot that you have to fill. Thomas Partey's going to AFCON. Who are you going to be playing? Is it going to be Jorginho? Is it going to
We
be
don't even
Emil Smith
play
Rowe?
Partey anymore. We don't play him at all. It's Havertz.
It, and I said this. I said this at the start of the season. The reason Arsenal wasn't going to succeed if they played Havertz and Odegaard together, there's just too much space in the middle, and that's what happened against West Ham. That got exploited by Kudus, by Paqueta, by whoever's there. The problem with Arsenal is the space in the middle, and another problem, obviously, the goaltending. You need a goal scorer if you're going to be able to overcome those problems. This team could miss the Champions League if they're not careful.
Sign Solanke. Problem solved.
Yeah,
Done.
that'll be a phenomenal signing.
Well, let's go to a team that has essentially won everything from the last calendar year. A team that you said was the best team, one of the best teams in the world. From the last video, I'll let you start with them. Please talk to us once again about Manchester City.
So they're game in hand. They're 5 points off the title. We'll just give them the win. So they're now 2 points off of the title. This has been one of their worst starts to a season ever, and yet there's no doubt in my mind that they win the Premier League. So what does that really tell you about, A, the teams in the Premier League that they're competing with, whether that be Liverpool, Villa, Arsenal, Tottenham, whoever it is, and B, how dominant of a team this team, like, how you had the best center back in the world last season in John Stones, and yet I don't really see him all that much this season. Akanji's playing more, Diaz is playing more, Gvardiol's playing more, Ake's playing more, Walker's playing more. You have, I mean, I just mentioned four defenders right now who could arguably be said as the best in their position in the world. Now you go into the midfield where you can see, I think Rodri's the best player on this team. I think he's the best midfielder in the world other than maybe Bellingham. De Bruyne is coming back from injury. He could be argued to be better. Foden's having the best season of his career. He could be argued to be the best winger in the league this season. Haaland is a goal-scoring robot. Doku is the most fun player to watch in the league. Alvarez doesn't lose. I mean, where's the hole in this team? And you can go back and you can look at their losses and you can say, you know what, this team doesn't have it anymore. But to that, I just firmly, firmly disagree. They will figure it out. They will win the double this year, whether that be a domestic cup or a Champions League. But they're definitely winning the Premier League this season. I have no doubt in my mind.
The one part that always frustrates me with this team is how much they score over their expected goals. It's outrageous. Expected goals 37, they've scored 45. This team is hilarious, is amazing. You talked about Rodri. The emergence of Jeremy Doku needs to be looked at. What the heck is this? Why do they need more good players? We don't want them to have more good players, but it's making the league money and it's making them unstoppable. Bernardo Silva's been okay. Phil Foden has played great recently. I'm liking him. I'm seeing more from Phil
I didn't
Foden.
even mention Bernardo Silva, and he's one of the best players in the world, too. It's crazy.
Yeah. Phil Foden, 7. The match ratings on this team are ridiculous. The ratings on this team is nuts. Rodri is almost an 8. Doku 7.8. Haaland 7. They have more players over 7 than I think I've mentioned for over half the teams combined. They have 11 players over a 7 match rating, which is ridiculous. Holland 14 goals. He's tied for most in the league. He is a threat everywhere he goes. And some may argue that he doesn't score goals in big matches. He doesn't really need to. Look at the team around this man. They have a million people who can go out there and grab a goal and can go to another team and be a lot of players who can go to another team and be a true superstar wherever they go. In the Premier League, La Liga, other than maybe Real Madrid and Barcelona, they can have a player go to another team and be a true superstar wherever they go. They have a lot of players who have that capability, and it's frustrating. This team is amazing. They have the easiest cup draw possible. They got Huddersfield, a gift. They're playing Copenhagen in the Champions League, a gift. Like,
Can we do some research into why UEFA lets them rig draws? Because this is it's kind of insane at this point that they've never had competition early. It's
oh yeah,
like
they
and
got
and
knocked out of
even
the EFL Cup. They got knocked out of the EFL Cup. They had
yeah
competition. They lost to Newcastle. That's
yeah
actually kind of funny. This team lost to Wolves. Wait, what?
yeah
Hello? What?
yeah.
I think Arsenal needs to raid Wolves real quick to learn how to beat, score more than one goal against City. I think a lot of teams need to do that. They have the easiest schedule possible. They have Huddersfield. Then they get Newcastle. That's their toughest game. Um, till February 17th. That is their toughest game. Newcastle, which I think they're going to draw. I think they're going to draw away to Newcastle. They have Burnley, Brentford, Everton, and Copenhagen. And then they play Chelsea, Bournemouth, the Manchester Derby, and then Copenhagen again. Not the hardest schedule ever. Where it turns around is that their schedule at the end of the year is actually pretty annoying because they have to play in a span of a month Aston Villa, Arsenal, Brighton, and Liverpool.
Yeah.
So I think in late March is where we're really going to see, can this team do it consecutively again and go out there and beat the bigger teams in the Premier League? This team is unstoppable. This is the equivalent of the Real Madrid Galacticos. It's like they're collecting all of the Infinity Stones. Someone turn into the Avengers and find ways to prevent from this damn team to collect all the Infinity Stones. I'm done talking about City. I think I'm going to give you the privilege to start with Aston Villa here because they're in second, 3 points off the top. They've won 13 of their first 20. They've only lost 4 of their first 20. We both projected them to finish in 8th place. And they're in second. Talk to us about them.
So every year coming into the season, Aston Villa has a tremendous amount of hype, and every year I say, you know what, I don't buy it. They're going to be okay, and usually I'm right. But Unai Emery has this team turned around. Emiliano Martinez, one of the best goalies in the world. Douglas Luiz has been one of the best players in the Premier League. John McGinn, the same. Jacob Ramsey, the same. They just have everything figured out from top to bottom. It's just a very organized team. Now, do I think this team's going to challenge for the Premier League? I don't think so. I think they're going to have maybe not a fall off, but I just don't think they're going to be able to push Man City or Liverpool to the top. And I know that might sound a little bit weird because they're ahead of Man City, but we both know that Man City is the best team in the league right now, and it's going to be a battle between them and Liverpool to the title. But I will admit where I was wrong. I just thought it was another Aston Villa team, and it's not that.
I mean, there's 2 players who I want to put under a microscope, and it's former Brentford player Ollie Watkins
Yeah,
and Jamaican winger
Leon
Leon
Bailey.
Bailey.
Yeah,
Dude, finally, someone from CONCACAF is doing something. I love it.
yeah,
So, for those who don't know, I've heard of Leon Bailey since he made his debut on Jamaica. That's when I learned about this dude, was when he played in, like, the Gold Cup against, like, the United States or something. That's how I found it. That's how I found out about a lot of these CONCACAF players. Ollie Watkins I've known about for years, because from his days when he started with Brentford. And 9 goals, 8 assists. I think he's one of the more underrated strikers in the Premier League, and I think that might
yeah.
be an interesting take there because some people don't make him look underrated. He's worth over 50 million. I don't know, like he deserves more than what he's getting. He's played great. He's been able to score goals, find ways to grab some assists. Leon Bailey, more of the same. 6 goals, 5 assists. there are a lot of balanced players here. Douglas Luiz, you talked about him, 6 goals. John McGinn, who beat my Arsenal team. Diaby, Duran. You've Matty Cash playing solid at right back. I mean, this team is very balanced. And Unai Emery's really got this team together, and they're, I think, are really going to challenge for a Champions League spot. They're going to bump one of the expected teams out of the Champions League spot. I don't know specifically who that's going to be yet. I think we have to wait a little bit more. My concern with them is for how bad they are on the road. 4 wins from 10. That's where they're going to fall off. And oh wait, they have some interesting road matches to play. And
Yeah,
I think where we're going to start to see them fall off, and I'm calling this date out right now. This is something I never do. I think they're going to struggle with Luton away. They're going to do it
I see
again.
it. I see it. I see it.
Luton away. Then they play Tottenham and West Ham. Wolves are going to beat Wolves. But then they play City away, Arsenal away. That part of this season, starting on March 2nd, is where we're really going to see how good this Villa team is. Because they're so bad on the road compared to the other top teams in the Premier League. We're going to learn how good Villa really is. What type of team we're really going to see on the field. Are they just going to fall off a cliff when they go to like the London Stadium and lose to West Ham? Are they going to be able to score goals at the Etihad? Can they go out to the Emirates and do what Fulham did and beat Arsenal? And they also have to play at the end of the year Liverpool and Brighton and Chelsea and Bournemouth. This is a very interesting schedule to end the year, and I really think Aston Villa has a chance to struggle. But March 2nd
Yeah.
is where their season, I think, really begins. March 2nd. Mark your calendars for that, ladies and gentlemen. And it's now time for our final topic of the day. I'll start with them because they piss me off so much. It's Liverpool. First, Liverpool. None of us got that right. Disagree. I don't know. I mean, this team, they're a very good bunch of players. The issue is that they don't have a player besides Salah who has scored more than 5 goals. And I'll address that problem right now. They have multiple players who have scored 5 goals, and they have multiple people who can score goals for this team. My problem with them right now, where the hell is McAllister? Why is he starting over Curtis Jones? What are they doing? You signed this dude. He's pretty solid. Hold on, let's pull up the numbers. 1 goal, 1 assist in 15 matches. Granted, he's coming off an injury. Yes. He should not be this bad. I'm saying he's back. He doesn't have a goal or an assist. The rating tries to make it a little bit justified. But he's on the bench behind Curtis Jones, who also hasn't looked very good. But one player I want to watch out for, I think, for the rest of the season, as a man off the bench, his rating doesn't justify it. I really like Harvey Elliott, and I don't know why.
Okay. Yeah.
I like Harvey Elliott. I think he could be really a big-time impact off the bench. I think he's going to do a lot of good things for this team in the future. Darwin Núñez has scored the 2nd most goals on the team. Memes reign eternal today. Darwin Núñez, he came from Benfica. Find this song. Someone, if you're watching this video, find the song. It's such a good. It's hilarious. They have Jota scoring goals. Gakpo has been a little bit disappointing. Only 3 goals to start the season, but Salah is carrying them as expected. But when I watched that Arsenal game, I really learned how valuable how good of a duo of Trent and Salah really is.
Yes.
The way Trent can pick out passes to Salah is outrageous. It's world class. Alisson's been solid in goal. This team is really going to pose a bigger threat to the Premier League than I thought they were going to. But they have, once again, another team with an interesting schedule because at the end of this season, they have to play Tottenham, West Ham, Aston Villa, and Manchester United, who I think is going to cause them some problems. So, Liverpool, it's your time to shine. It's kind of there for the taking right now. They still have to play City at Anfield. They have to play Arsenal again. Let's see if they can get it done.
Yeah, Liverpool's here for the battle. They are going to be there neck and neck with Man City for the title. And while I do think Man City will come away with it, these next few games without Salah and without Endo are so crucial for them. And I think they can get it done just because they have the depth. They can go into their next few games with Diaz, Núñez, and Gakpo as their forwards and Jota off the bench and Harvey Elliott off the bench and not skip a beat. The midfield has depth as well. You got Gravenberch, who's been great, Schley, who's been great, and then McAllister hasn't been good enough, but Curtis Jones has been okay in the fill-in game. Bajatic can come in and play a good shift if he needs to. There's enough quality on the team to make it work out. Where this team's going to struggle is City just have their number. It's going to come down to that. Can they beat City? Can they beat Arsenal? Liverpool has always feasted on small teams. City do the same. It's just, can they go out there and win those big games? I think they can, but I wouldn't expect them to. That's where I think Man City has them beat. They're just going to be able to go out and win the game that matters the most.
Dylan, I appreciate you joining me, my man. Always a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah.
We'll see you probably in May because, ladies and gentlemen, we've already done a preview video. We've done mid-season.
Yeah.
We'll probably see Dylan in May for the recap videos. That is the end of today's episode of the Robbie Basel Show. Thank you guys so much for joining. If you like what you see, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Some of Dylan's links, his Instagram handle, all that stuff, and his other podcast that he's on, well, they'll be in the description. Make sure to check those out. But for now, I'm Robbie Basel saying so long. I'll see you guys on Monday. Goodbye, everyone.